welcome to The Point. All you change makers out there, it is fantastic that you have a passion and an interest for being better, for knowing things can be better, being hopeful that things can be better. And what if they are? So today, this discussion turns the corner towards protecting yourself and protecting the gains that you've made and why that's important. So I'd be curious to hear from you what you think is important about protecting gains. And it might be an important gauge. As a matter of fact, I would say it is an important gauge to look in the mirror and ask yourself, how far do you retract or retrace or recycle when you make a change? If you're able to move forward and make a decision to do something different, and you could pick something simple in designing your strengths when you learn to set goals and when you learn to design ways of moving forward and ways of getting things done, one of the key elements is picking a short-term goal-setting process to experiment and that way you get faster results in experimenting with different ways to move forward. You might experiment with the mantra you're using or one of the repeatables that you're using and how you speak to yourself, or you might be experimenting with a new thought, action, or way of speaking to someone else or way of querying or asking questions of someone else. But you work in those smaller increments to really get dialed in the nuance of knowing yourself better and knowing your strengths and being able to activate those strengths in a positive way toward what you want. And when you make those gains, there's this thought process that says, have you ever heard 2 steps forward, 1 step back? Well, if you've automated that, now you're moving forward and you're able to move forward and not have to do that large of a retracement or a repeat. You're able to move forward, and what if you did 2 steps forward, 1 step forward? What if you did 3 steps forward, 1 step forward? What if it wasn't, that it goes way far forward and then back? What if it's way far forward and then a little forward? What if it's always forward? So another thought process, when you hear discussions about change, you might come across the ideation that says, well, a leopard doesn't change its stripes. What does that mean? A leopard doesn't change its stripes means that an individual will never change. It's a correlation or an idea. Now notice, you're going to get a little mental shortcut here. You're going to learn, so you've heard it already. Some of you know what this is already, and you already get it. Notice I say a leopard doesn't change its stripes. The idea is wrong. Leopards have spots. You might also hear a tiger doesn't change its spots, because the idea is to challenge the truth, to challenge the imprint that makes on us, to challenge when it's said accurately. The mind knows what has been said. It's taken into your mind in a way where you know it and understand it. When it's said incorrectly, you have an opportunity to then negate it. And the truth is that it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't have a good correlation. It's a statement to try and make a point that is a belief system you get to choose to have or choose not to have. You get to choose to have the belief system that people never change or not. Now, it's pretty difficult to prove that people never change. There's way too much evidence out there today that proves that you can change, that proves there aren't limits on what can be accomplished. The only limits are the ones that you put on yourself. As a matter of fact, some of the limits, there's people with physical limitations that have turned that physical limitation into a positive and have found other ways to get done something that they choose to get done. Is that you? Maybe you have an emotional sense of a limitation or a mental sense of a limitation, but there's too much proof that you can do something with that. And oftentimes the path through that is through the idea of whatever it is that's limiting. But why limit yourself? It's true that based on the Clifton Strength science, that you're 1 in 1.33 million. That's the ratio. It's 1 to 1.33 million that you'll have the same top 5 in the same order as another person. So you're greater than 1 in a million. Now, you can demonstrate that in many other ways. Now, you also may like to bring yourself around others like you. You might be part of a community of likeness, a community of support. And you may then find yourself sitting there feeling like you're the same, like you're similar. Well, it's wonderful to look at what works and what is aligned and what is the same, what we can agree on. Focus on the good things. Focus on what does work, and we will continue to bring into our lives things that are good and things that work. We'll continue to notice more of those things. Focus on whatever it is you choose to focus on will grow. That's a known. And if you're doubting that, you can test that. You can go out and test that and report back what the results are. Okay? So try focusing on something and see if it grows. So how do you protect? And so the reason to protect forward gains is to challenge a belief system and maybe consider leveraging some growth that you've had or made, and not have to retrace and have that metric at all. But let's say that there is a reason that there is a natural fallback. It's also, it could feel that way or seem that way, whether it's happening or not, because of just a matter of resting, of hitting a pace that is powerful, strong, forward moving, and then find a moment to rest. And oftentimes rest may feel like we're losing ground. So having the right belief system and the right mentality in that moment protects that. So having a way of protecting your forward movement keeps us and keeps you from having anything challenge it when you do choose to rest. Have you ever felt concerned or worried about slowing down or resting because you don't want to lose ground? You won't have to do that anymore. You can set the stage and manage yourself in a way and manage the process in the way for yourself that eliminates the need to have those concerns, because you're always moving forward and you're always protecting that forward movement. Now, so that's why we want to protect it, because it's possible to. We also don't want to go back. We don't necessarily want to move way forward into something super positive that we want and revisit what we don't want. If we don't want it, we don't want to revisit it for any other reason than to remember we don't want it, right? So if you're moving forward and towards something you want, and it is in contrast to something you experienced that you don't want, the only necessary way of revisiting that is through basic remembrance, thought, and by remembering the lessons we learned and why we don't want to relearn those lessons. So you can master that. You can use thought around that to do that. I have had friends say to me, and I have said to others, Be nice to my friend. So, somebody said that to me once. Be nice to Jeff. He's my friend. And I was in the process of beating myself up. Yeah. When you wake up in the morning and the thoughts are already getting you. I used to talk about that in a way that said, I've had a morning where I woke up and the committee in my brain is already up having coffee, talking about everything wrong in my life. And it's like, whoa, I don't need to listen to that committee. So if you wake up and you're already having the thoughts or the ideas around what's not working, instantly wake up, put your feet on the floor and make a decision to think differently. Put those thoughts in their place and remember the lessons that come from it. Put your thoughts back into the right zone of the gains that you have made. Kind of a cool and fun example about the importance of using words. My coach had helped me finally live under 200 pounds for at least a number of weeks, and it was going into a month, I believe, maybe a month and a half. It had been a significant amount of time that I was around 190, 187. I was losing weight, and I was cutting. And I was feeling I was feeling great, by the way, and empowered and energized and all these things. And I was cutting to the lowest cut ever so far. And I'm planning one more, but I kept speaking in terms of 200s. I'd say I'm 287, I'm 286, I'm 285, I'm 290, and it was so natural for me to say 200 and something. And I kept saying it. And finally he goes, look, for weeks you've been using that. Stop it. You have to get intentional. Stop it. Start acknowledging and getting specific and intentional that you are 100 plus pounds, not 200. You're 190 pounds. Even if it's 199, it's 100, not 2. And I caught myself. Similar. How many of you just look in the mirror and say yes? Write 2023 in January when it's 2024. Because we're accustomed to having written out that year for an entire year. Well, if for 20 years you've been in the 100s and you're now 97, or if you're in the 200s and now 197, or whatever that is, if you've spent, in this story, if you've spent years, 20 years in the 200s, and then you drop into the hundreds, what happens? Well, the way to protect the gain, right? So protecting the gain, which was, the gain for me was better health, better energy, better nutrition, clearer skin, better focus, feeling more emotionally resourceful, less judgmental on myself and others. What a twist. What a twist. How many of you, gosh, dog it, if you're sitting here and thinking that it's bad to do, that there's some type of bad result that happens, whether it's making more money, or if it's increasing a savings account, or if it's buying a certain vehicle, or living in a certain area, or losing a certain amount of weight, or being in a certain level of fitness, check yourself. Check yourself if you have opinions or ideas of what that might look like, even if you were there before, because they're probably not true. If you have ideas of what it might be like, that if you're super fit, that you'll be more judgmental, more arrogant, more in all about yourself, feeling great, check yourself. That's not a necessity. And I'll confirm that with you, because when I lost weight and I got an extremely good physical condition that I'm continuing, when I did that, I became more compassionate, more understanding, less full of myself, more understanding. Going through the struggle, mental, emotional, physical, of learning to do that, and learning to weight train, learning to get the right amount of movement a day, and how that would work, and dealing with all of the adversity that comes with trying to deal with travel schedules and still stay on target with a healthy nutrition and training plan to build muscle and to burn fat and to have the right body composition so that I feel, so there's a good feeling in my body, right? And that all of that happens, and you have a gain in compassion because you gain understanding and reasons why you were resisting doing it, and then you begin to understand why others don't. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't people in the world that get more uppity about themselves and like, oh, look at me, and talk down to people who are not there. Sure. That doesn't have to be you. So it's not a result of getting fit. That's a whole nother challenge. So if you're having that challenge, that's another challenge. You can own that and change that, just like you can own your physical fitness and change that. You can own your nutrition and change that. But changing your nutrition and getting healthy and feeling good means you get to be more compassionate, more understanding, more prepared to help others, and it's great. Increasing your ability to speak to yourself and others in a way that drives emotionally resourcefulness and helps maintain desired outcomes, helps reach desired outcomes faster. Being specific and intentional with your thoughts and your words will protect you from losing ground and help you continue forward. And quite possibly, should you choose to move in that direction, help you rewire some things so that you no longer have to be bound by the limitations that others have set for you. You no longer have to be bound or anchored or slowed down by those things other people think and believe that are limiting. That's why you want to protect the forward gains that you make. And that's why we maintain some type of humility in memory of where we're coming from, so we know what we don't want. Yet that's not the focus. The focus becomes what we do want, so that a good percentage of our energy is in the moment, embracing the behaviors of what we want. Right? If I want physical fitness, I will embrace the behavior of having an appropriate snack of some kind and not having a whole bucket of ice cream every night, which there was a version of me that would have loved to have had a bucket of ice cream every night. As a matter of fact, there was a version of me that could have a bucket of ice cream every night. I was so physically active. But that still wasn't the best thing for my brain, because that much sugar would tip me over the edge and made me crazy, right? So that's me. Doesn't mean I can't have some. We can all do what we want if we set the right intention around it. The idea is be intentional, be specific, be clear, love what you love, allow yourself these things that you love, and stop the limitations. And make decisions that are intentional, that give you what you want. The unconditional mind will help. Well, the unconditional mind will get on board and will make a difference for you. And what we're clear on as a closing point, right? As a closing point, what is clear today is that your unconscious mind does not know. It doesn't have any awareness when you talk smack about someone else, when you speak poorly of another. Your unconscious mind is not aware that you're not speaking about yourself. So what it's hearing is very much has a lot of potential to be absorbed as your opinion of yourself. So be cautious of what you say about others. All right, so how do we protect our gains? We use our words wisely when we're thinking, and you begin to choose what your thoughts are going to be. You use you can use base repeatables. The more valuable something is, you want to use more repeatables, something that you can use over and over and over, that kind of encompasses a few basic ideas that helps you feel into the state you're looking for. You can manage the words you use when you're communicating with others, when you're speaking out loud, and that'll make the greatest difference. You can stamp out the idea of doubt by doing these things, because you can use words that are empowering and uplifting and simple. When you catch yourself possibly doing something like that, recycling, you can instantly fall back into intention, own it, and move forward without worrying that it happened. Just going through things as a fact. Just because a behavior comes up or an old thought comes up or even an action doesn't mean you're recycling an old way. Could just mean that a part of it is still there automated, that you're cycling through and completing. More power to you as you continue down this road of self-improvement and self-realization and actualization, and whatever other words that you choose to put towards your growth and your development. It's absolutely a pleasure to continue, and all of your feedback and comments I love taking into consideration and using to make to answer or to create more conversations and more ideas and more thoughts of what we'll keep talking about on the next show.
Thank you for joining us for another amazing episode of The Point with me, Jeff Spikes. The greatest compliment you could give me is liking, loving, and sharing this episode with all your friends. So please, if you're on Spotify, iHeart, or iTunes, leave a 5-star rating and review. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. Make sure to tag me. I love hearing from you, the listeners of this show. The links for all my social and iTunes are in the show notes. Also, if you'd like to engage with me in anything related to my coaching, consulting, speaking, or programs, please visit jeffspikes.com for everything you would need to know to engage with me offline. And lastly, thank you for your time, your attention, and your consideration. This is The Point.